good day out there to all of my listeners. And I'd like to welcome you to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. And I'm your host. My name is Cassandra Crawley, and I am a transformational lifestyle mentor who empowers women to live their best life on their terms. And I'm finding it's been very difficult because of those self-imposed barriers that we have. And that's why I like to have topics on for what I call self-improvement, empowerment, things of that nature. And today our topic is called the shame voice. And then I have a question for you. Have you ever felt like you've done the therapy, you've done self-help books, you've done prayer, you've done yoga, you've done all of this stuff, but you're still finding yourself stuck in in your old patterns. Like something inside you keeps silencing your voice and sabotaging your success. But my guest today, Emma Lyons, calls it the shame voice. And that's why this topic is called the shame voice. It's an internalized system of control that runs us from the inside out. And once you recognize it, you can finally break free, excuse me. So let's get ready because today's conversation isn't just about healing. It's about a jailbreak for your soul. So let's welcome to the stage Emma Lyons. Hey, Emma.
Hey, Cassandra, thank you so much. I feel very at home here because we are very much on the same page.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And the first thing I'd like to do, Emma, is read a little bit of my bio so that my listeners will get a better understanding of what qualifies you to talk about what we're going to discuss today. Emma Lyons is a trauma-informed healer and founder of the Trauma Matrix. She guides high-functioning, heart-led women to dismantle the inner shame voice, the internalized control system that fuels burnout, invisibility, and self-sabotage. After she left behind a law and human rights career that looked successful but felt soul-crushing, she spent over a decade in deep healing work. Now she helps women reclaim their clarity, power, and nervous system freedom so they can thrive in their truth without shame running the show. Wow, Emma, this is going to be exciting. But let me ask you this. I want to know about your backstory. And the reason I want to know about that, because you indicated how your childhood dynamics has a lot to do with your success in the latter years. So tell us a little bit about your backstory, your childhood.
Well, it's really interesting because for years I thought I was the problem. I thought I was the odd one out. I thought I just was my issue. But
Mhm.
what I recently discovered is that my family is kind of quietly dysfunctional / narcissistic.
Mhm.
And my mother has many of the traits of a covert narcissist, and her mother was quite a malignant narcissist, although that terminology didn't really exist at the time. She
Mhm.
was quite, sadistic in some ways, very manipulative, my grandmother, and also,
Mhm.
abused my uncle. And
Ooh.
he was also the scapegoat. I've identified that he was the scapegoat of that particularly family system. So
Mhm.
it was really interesting to kind of uncover that it wasn't my fault. I'm not the
Mhm.
problem. The problem is the kind of sick and twisted system of many of the families that were brought up in Cassandra, because let's face it, intergenerational trauma is real.
Mhm.
People, my parents, their parents, they were not doing any work on themselves. And
Mhm.
we're a couple of generations back, we're talking famine, we're talking genocide, we're talking, not too far back, slavery, all kinds of things, where it all gets passed down. What you
Right.
don't deal with, it gets passed down through the generations, and it will
Mhm.
children, and it will kind of come out in these twisted forms of people becoming narcissists and abusive because that was their coping mechanism to survive their twisted upbringing. So
Right.
it was really it's been a very difficult journey, I'll be honest, because you go through the whole process, grief and rage and everything. But it's also been liberating, because all this time I thought it was the problem, but my body all the time knew, my nervous system knew before I could cognitively recognize what was going on. My body, mother was sending me messages, my body would kind of go tighten. And I was like, what's going on? Because it's so subtle, this kind of controlling, covert abuse. Most people won't even see it, but it's like it's kind of utilizing shame and guilt to get people to do what you want. And I realized that my mother this was her modus operandi, and I also realized that this system kind of fractals out everywhere in the world, because you see this same kind of family dysfunction happening. You see the scapegoating, you see the golden children, you see it everywhere. And when you fractal out, like look at the bigger picture, cultures and countries, and they're all scapegoating, and they're all operating from this repressed shame. And also recognize then that I also internalized this. So that was the key. That was how I recognized this voice, because I'd always felt from a very young age I really operated from a lot of shame. And I thought this was my intuition. I thought it was my guide. I thought it was my, something that needed healing, something that I needed to empathize with. And what I realized it's been extremely liberating for me, is to recognize that this is actually the ego. This is a narcissist that I've internalized. That
Emma,
I call it,
yeah. Let me ask you, you said covert abuse, shame.
Yes.
Explain the behavior that conveys shame that you did, that you experienced. Like, what type of behavior does that entail?
Well, they're shaming you for being you, like the whole in dysfunctional and family systems, children are kind of assigned roles. So this has been researched and investigated. So this is how they split these things up in order to cope systematically. So someone is selected to be the golden child. This is the favorite. Somebody is selected to be the scapegoat. And you basically become kind of the landfill for all the unprocessed shame and guilt that nobody wants to deal with. It gets dumped on you. And it can come out in like shaming. Like, I was called weird as a child, around the dinner table. I was called useless one time when I was late coming to the car. But it can also be in more subtle ways, just kind of, I was the scapegoat. I was also the invisible child. That's another role that you often find in dysfunctional and narcissistic families. So I was kind of exiled. I was off doing my own thing and very depressed from childhood. And nobody wanted to see that. So they just thought, Emma's off on her own. She's fine. They didn't want to see, because that would have required, and that's still the case,
Yes.
They don't want to, even now when I've said I need some time, I can't, I'm not talking to anyone at the moment, I need some time. They never ask, how are you? They never, there's no real emotional connection.
Sure.
That's extremely damaging for all children, but particularly if you're the sensitive type of child, you need that emotional connection. You need to get that mirroring. Otherwise, you just feel you internalize it. And I did internalize all those beliefs. I thought from a very young age, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, I'm no good, I'm a failure. These were the programs that were running, and I didn't know where they came from until I started to uncover this kind of covert system of abuse that's running. And I tick all the boxes of someone who's been scapegoated. And when I look back, I can see it very clearly. But it's invisible abuse that doesn't leave bruises, but it leaves emotional scarring, the same kind of emotional scars of someone who's been sexually abused, for example. That same emotional scarring, because for years I was wondering why I never could have a relationship, why I was, emotionally avoidant. And it's because of this pattern that I adapted in order to survive. I adapted, being independent, being fine, not needing anyone, being vulnerable. It's not safe because you just get shamed. So this is what I learned, and it got imprinted very deeply in my psyche.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your clarification. That you gave also my listeners some clarification about that and help them to understand why are they um, feeling shame or have this shame voice that we're talking about. But my next question is now, okay, all of that occurred, but yet you still went and you studied law and international human rights. How did you, what was it about that you transitioned to? Okay,
Well,
so you left
in
home or whatever, and you decided that you were going to study law.
Well, I studied languages first, and then I thought, I had this whole idea. It's coming from the shame place. I have to constantly
Okay.
prove that I'm enough. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the real key. So I wanted to help the world to do something big in order to feel like I was enough. So this is why I came into the human
Oh,
rights world
sure.
and
Uh-huh.
studied law. That was what it was driving it. It was shame. It was
Mm,
internalized shame. And I did, connect with people who were oppressed. And I can see now that that was kind of trauma bonding because I could relate to them because I had been silently kind of scapegoated in my own system, but it was something that I wasn't
mm-hmm.
aware of at the time. So after I completed that, I studied law, and then I realized, oh my God, that this just isn't for me. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
want to do it, and it doesn't feel aligned. So
Mm-hmm.
this is why I left it, and I really started my healing journey, if you like, in
Right.
earnest. But
Right.
until
Yeah.
I started to address these root causes, it was like trying to feng shui the furniture when the house is on fire. Until I started addressing these root level family dysfunctions and distancing myself from that toxicity in order so that I could start healing. Nothing was really shifting in my life, if that makes
Well,
sense.
yeah, but Emma, how long were you in that field, law and in human rights? Because you categorize it as a slow death. So how long were you doing that? How long were you in that industry?
Well, I was studying it, and I did a master's degree. So
Oh,
yeah, there were about at least 3 years, and then also, I went out and did field research and stuff like this.
okay.
So we're talking 3 years, and it was yeah, it was very, and I did my law part time, so I was working in a job that really wasn't aligned. So it was
Right.
very, very soul destroying in a lot of different ways. And I can see now when I look back, I was very, very unhappy. And
Okay.
I just thought it was normal to be unhappy from a young age. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
normal to have suicidal ideation from a young age, but it turns
Mm-hmm.
out that's not the case.
Right, right. So yeah, so now I understand why you called it a slow death, even though you were in it for 3 years. And I just wanted to highlight that because I do have listeners that are in industries working and they're not happy. They're stuck.
Yeah.
And it was something about you that said, you know what? I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so what made you pivot and say, I can't do it anymore? If I'm not understanding, you did not have a job when you decided you didn't want to do that anymore. Is that true?
No. Yeah, yeah. I had a complete quarter life crisis. It was complete.
Wow.
I had nothing. It's like a midlife crisis, but earlier. So
Wow.
it's pretty,
Okay.
it's pretty terrifying. And no, I didn't have a job. I was just like trying to figure it all out,
Yeah.
and trying to, but I knew that what I was trying to do didn't make me happy. And I
Right.
found yoga and healing, and these things really made sense for me.
Sure.
And then I got all excited about that. And then I spoke to my mother. And instead of getting any kind of support or backup on that, she gave me a 40-minute lecture about why that was impossible, why I could never do that. And
Mm.
it just crushed my soul again.
Wow. But when you were doing the yoga, the therapy, you were kind of in a like a self-discovery mode. It was something you said you even doing that you felt stuck, right?
Yeah, because I recognized this is what I want to do. And I started, trying to do it as a business. But I kept on running up against these self-sabotage. I would be doing all the right things. I spent so much money, I don't even want to think about on all these courses and amazing
Sure.
coaching programs. And I
Right.
would do all the things and then like not get the results. So I was
Right.
like, yeah, I'm the problem. You know, what's going on here? I'm doing everything right, but not getting anything out of it, which was kind of the story of my life at that time. So
Right.
in order to get things moving, I had to look at the template, which was my upbringing, and
Uh-huh.
this scapegoating pattern, this shame pattern that I had internalized, that really was the bedrock for all this self-sabotage and
Mhm.
silent sabotage and shaming that really kept me going round in circles and burning myself out and not moving forward at all.
So doing all of this, your therapy, your yoga, probably journaling and all that, you said that
Oh my God, yeah.
you discovered the deeper truth,
Yeah.
right? What was the deeper truth? What was that about? Unpack that.
The deeper truth is that my family was toxic. Like I said, all this time I thought it was just me who had the problem, because everyone
Uh-huh.
else in my family, I thought they were fine. But when I realized, how abnormal, how my family were never able to mirror me emotionally, and
Hmm.
how my needs weren't met, and it wasn't even not about meeting my needs. I was actually scapegoated within the family system, which caused
Hmm.
me to internalize all this shame. That
Hmm.
was really the thing that kind of helped me recognize that no, I'm not the problem here. And the scapegoat is also often the one who can see. It's often the sensitive child within the system who can kind of
Hmm.
see the truth of how dysfunctional things are. And the parent, obviously, that's a threat to the system. So that person gets shut down and very often gets scapegoated in order to keep
Hmm.
them in their little box and to keep
Right.
playing small. So when I realized that was kind of the template for my life, I was able to start dismantling it and
Okay.
dismantle this shame voice that I had internalized from the inside out. Because it's
Okay.
one thing to get out of the family, but it's quite another to get the family dysfunction out of you.
Right. So listen, what is a narcissist? What is that? I've been hearing that term a whole lot. So explain what that is. What this is a system of control that ran you from the inside out, right?
Well,
So
yeah. So narcissists are people who are very self-serving, and they might appear very charismatic, but they're very shaming. They come with you. They gaslight you. That means they make you question your reality. So something will happen.
mhm.
I'll ask you something, and then I'll say, "Oh no, that didn't happen. You're just imagining that." So then you're
Mhm.
like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with my memory?" You start questioning your judgment. They
Mm.
minimize you a lot. They might love bomb you and say, "Oh, you're great," and then tear you down, start shaming you.
Right,
They
right.
might also move the goalposts, like, you know, say, "Okay, once we get to that, then once you get there, then you'll be good enough." And then once you get there, you're still not good enough. So
Mhm.
these
Mhm.
are these, this is it's narcissists. There's so many out there in the world because we live in a very narcissistic world. We even
Yep.
have a very obvious narcissist who's the president of the United States at the moment.
Uh-huh.
So the narcissists are everywhere. They can be very charismatic,
Mhm.
and we internalize that because it's everywhere. This
Yeah.
shame voice. What happens is that in order to cope in this shaming world, we kind of like, because shame, it's like a sword and a shield, right? So
Mhm.
we can use it to attack people, but we also think, okay, if I shame myself first, then it won't hurt so much when other people shame me. And that's what
Okay.
happens. That's how we internalize
Oh,
shame. We kind of
okay.
think we can beat them to the punch. And that's why where so many people, they internalize all these ideas. I'm a failure, I'm no good, I'm not good enough.
Right.
We think if I
Right.
just say that to myself, then people won't be able to shame me. But
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
it just attracts more and more shame, because you become a shame magnet, or a narcissist magnet, because the narcissist outside, people who want to shame you, they need that inner hook. And this is the
Mm.
inner narcissist. So for
Wow.
example, if I come up to you, Cassandra, and say, your purple hair is so ugly, you're going to be like, who is this woman? She's crazy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So in order for you to experience shame from an insult or a comment like that, You need to have this voice inside that says, oh, my nose is really big, or maybe I am a failure. Then you'll experience shame. So
Mm-hmm.
what I realized is the way to liberate ourselves from shame, to reclaim our shameless, if you like, is to exercise this shame voice that we've internalized. I call it the inner narcissist,
Okay.
because it ticks every single box of the narcissist outside. It does all the things that a narcissist does, but it's living rent free inside our own head, inside our own bodies.
So, okay, so talk, what's that, like unconscious trauma, right? Do we call that an unconscious trauma? So
Yeah.
it's, yeah, so listen, so what are some of the tools to break that cycle that has been running your life? What are some of those tools?
Well, I do have a 5-step process that I can take people through.
Uh-huh.
But really, the first thing is to recognize that this voice, we've been taught to think that this voice, and common wisdom will tell you that shame is normal and natural and good for you. This
Mm,
is what we're told.
mhm.
Even people like Brene Brown says that if you don't experience shame, that means you're a psychopath. So we're
Mm,
kind of brainwashed also by language. We call when like that word shameless. Every
mhm.
other word that ends in less in the English language, it means you're free of that thing. But
Yeah,
actually, people who we call shameless are just behaving in ways that we consider wrong or bad or unacceptable, right?
right.
So it's not approved. And basically, these people are not free of shame who are doing these things. I don't know, taking off their clothes, or they're acting from repressed shame more often than not. Or
Mhm.
or also people who are acting, people being totally authentic. They're often called shameless because it's triggering for people who are acting from this shame mask, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. So
Mhm.
I have the system that I have is B.R.E.A.K, break, right? So
Okay.
first one, B, it means when this shaming, and it comes like a shame attack, it heats your body, it makes you shrink, it like takes you over.
Right.
It's like a bodily hijack. But first you've got to recognize when the shame attacks that this isn't your voice, that it's like a magic spell, it's a pattern, it's a trance state that you've been under. So when you catch it, you interrupt it and you name it, recognize that it's a trance, that automatically disrupts the loop instantly.
That's the B stands for
Break,
the break. Okay. All
break
right.
the trance. Yeah.
Okay.
Then you go on to R, which is refuse to engage. And this is
Okay.
the thing with the narcissist outside, we're told, and Dr. Ramani, who's a narcissist expert, she talks about don't defend, don't engage, don't explain, and don't personalize deep. And we've got to do that with the voice inside. Because
Hmm.
when we argue or defend, we give it more, it's called narcissistic supply. It gives it more rope to kind of get involved and get us,
Right.
get
Well,
caught up in it. So we
hmm.
gotta stop that. Don't defend, don't engage, don't explain. Just say simply, not today, it's not happening.
Okay.
Then you want E, which is expose the lie. So call out the shame-based programming, that you have a big butt, or whatever the voice is saying,
Yeah.
that you're a failure. This is
Right.
control. This is not your story. That voice is not your friend. It's not your inner wisdom. It's not trying to protect you. It's actually trying to kill you. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And when you
Mhm.
speak it, you disarm its power. It's trying to keep you small, but we're gaslit by society to believe that this is some kind of protector, and that's absolutely not the case. It's like the
Okay.
narcissist that punches you in the face or tells you you can never do that, you can never run a podcast,
Right.
and then tells you that they're trying to do that to protect you. No,
Yeah.
they're trying to protect themselves. It's never about you, right?
Right.
So
Right.
expose the lie. Oh, then you go on to E, recognize that it's call out the shame-based programming, recognize that it's control, and speak of the truth. Then you go to A, which is anchor in the truth. You come
Hmm.
back to your body, because when shame takes over, it takes you out of your body. It's like, whoa, you contract. So
Hmm.
come back to your body, feel your breath, feel your feet, say your name, the year, and just remind your nervous system that you're safe, that you're sovereign, and that you're still here. Because
Okay.
shame like comes in like an alien invader. And then you want to kick it off, kick it out. K, shake it off, stomp it out, say it out loud. This isn't mine, and just refuse to take it in. So this is the break system. And obviously, it takes a bit of practice, because if you've been practicing dancing for the shame voice, performing for it, or arguing and defending yourself from it, you will have given that voice. It's called narcissistic supply. That's over 20, 30, 40 years. That's a lot of rope that it's already got. That's a lot of momentum that it's already got. And to break that momentum takes a little bit of work, but this definitely does work. And the real key is to recognize that the voice is not you. This shame voice, it's not you. It's not your friend. It's not a wounded part. It's like a parasite. And if you have a parasite in your gut, you don't send it love. Oh, poor thing. Oh my God, you're wounded. It's just trying to survive. No, but we're told to do that with this narcissist that's living inside our brain and extracting our power, our energy, our life force from us. You know, get the thing out. Get the thing out. Recognize that it's not you. You don't owe it anything. You don't owe it your energy. It's already taken so much of your energy, your life force away. And really, you get to reclaim your power.
Right. So, okay. So we talked about break, like the B for break, and the R is to refuse. The E is
refuse to engage. Yeah.
Right. Refuse to engage. And the escape was the E, escape from it. Right. And the A is the anchor.
Yeah. So the E is expose the lie.
Expose the lie.
Expose the lie. So call out the shame-based programming. Okay. Recognize that it's control. A is anchor. Anchor your body. Come back to your body. And K is kick it out. It's really about getting into your body and not taking this thing in. That's in a nutshell. That's what it is. Recognize that it's not you. You don't have to take it on. It's like a light bulb. It has no power without your energy, without your life force. So when you cut it off, it's got nothing.
Right. And as you indicated, Emma, that it's going to take time. You know, this is practice, right? So in your program, how much time does it take for your clients?
Well, I have a 5-week program that, because we're working in a group, so it really accelerates the time if you're working in a group and you have that kind of support. So my system is a 5-week program, but you can always, get better at it. You can always strengthen your own power. But the key is to disarm this shame voice, this narcissist that we've internalized. And then we become immune. The more we exorcise this demon, if you want, the more like an exorcism, we become impervious to shaming from the outside. We become unshameable. We become truly shameless. And I'm all about, my program is called Reclaim Your Shameless, because women need to live everyone actually needs to live shamelessly. This idea that shameless is a bad thing, it's a lie, it's a gaslight. We do not need the shame. Shame is a cultural imposition. It's a cultural implant in order to keep everybody in their tiny box and keep doing what society wants them to do and not shining their light. And it's time for us to break out now, because this narcissistic system is everywhere, and it's only going to change. It's not going to change from the top down, right? That's not going to happen, but it's going to change from the bottom up. Every individual really recognizing, taking back their power and being that lighthouse for other people. Because most people, they don't have anyone around them who's living truly shamelessly in the sense that I'm talking about shamelessly. So you can model that for them, and they're like, wow, look at Cassandra. She's living authentically. She's truly being her. Wow, she has got no shame in the positive sense of the word, obviously. And being truly authentic to who she is. And then other people, it gives people permission to do that too. Because most people, especially in the Western world, most families are extremely dysfunctional. They estimate that about 80% of families are dysfunctional and have these kind of narcissistic systems kind of going. And it's everywhere. This shaming is everywhere. It's in advertising. It's on social media. So once we disconnect that and reclaim our shameless, we become super empowered to go out there in the world and just
Right.
live our best life.
Right, right. And you indicated trauma. I like when you said trauma is a replay through perfection, people pleasing,
Yeah,
overwork,
yeah.
self sabotage that looked like procrastination or burnout.
Yeah, all of these things, if you can trace them back to shame, imposter syndrome, shaming, right? With a shaming voice, you're not enough, you can't do that, you're not good enough. That's
Mhm,
shame.
mhm.
Shame is the undercurrent. When you self sabotage, it's shame. You don't feel like you deserve that. You don't feel like you can have that thing. So you don't let yourself get there, or you struggle, you burn yourself out, and then yeah, and then crash. That again, this is shame. Procrastination, it's shame. These things are symptoms, not the root cause. So
Right,
this is the thing. Most people out there, they're talking about self-sabotage as if it's the cause, and it's not. The cause is the shaming. The cause
right.
is the shame that we've internalized. And when we liberate ourselves of that, we stop with the self-sabotage. We just allow ourselves to elevate and shine, and we stop putting the brakes on our own life.
Yeah, I like your perspective because I want to unpack a little bit about procrastinators and people pleasing and how shame relates to that. So is the people pleasing, I want them to like me?
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
See?
Yeah. And how does shame play into that? Because I'm ashamed if they don't
Yeah.
like me.
Yeah. So if you don't like yourself, if you feel like you're lacking that validation, you need
Mhm,
validation from the outside. Again, this is shaming. And
mhm,
shame, the emotion, well, it's not an emotion, like I said, it's much more than that. It's it invalidates you. It's invalidating. It says you're not good enough, you're unworthy. It makes you shrink.
mhm.
So when we feel that, we need to find another source. We need to find a boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whatever, somebody who's going to tell us that you're okay, you're good, you
Right.
can do this,
Validate. Right.
rather than giving that validation to
Yeah.
ourselves. And again, it's not the solution because those people don't stick around. What happens if they go? And then you're left with, you've still got the shame running in your life. You've got to
Right.
liberate yourself from shame. That's the only real solution
Sure.
that's gonna get you out of this spiral. And shame is a spiral that takes you to hell. It
Right.
takes you right to hell. Nobody would commit suicide without this shame voice. No matter what's going on in your life, you need
Mm-hmm.
that voice in your head that whispers, "Oh, there's no point anymore. You might as
Right.
well
You're
not
not
be
good
here."
enough.
In order
Right.
for you to commit that final act,
Mhm.
of self-destruction. That
Yeah.
shame voice is the
Mm.
key to everything.
Interesting.
It's like people coming with their shame, they need to have the lock. They're coming with the key of shame. They need to have the little hook to get into. When we get rid of that, when we get rid of that hook, we cannot be hooked into shame. We'll just think, my God, these people are crazy.
Okay, let me run this by you because a lot of my listeners, like I indicated, they're stuck, and they know some of them know what it is, what it looks like to live their best life on their terms, but they're stuck or they're procrastinating on what it is that they need to do. How does shame apply to the procrastination? Because a lot of listeners procrastinate.
Yeah, yeah. Again, procrastination is the self-sabotage, and
Uh-huh.
it's operating from this fear of what if I get successful? I don't really deserve it, or what will happen? Something bad will happen if I go there.
Mhm.
So your system kind of holds you back and keeps you safe. So
Mhm.
procrastination, again, it's shame at its root. If you don't have shame, you don't procrastinate because you're like,
Mhm.
wow, I'm fantastic. I'm going to share myself with the world. There's no holding yourself back. Shame
Mhm.
are the shackles that hold us back. That is the real root
Sure.
cause.
Okay, okay. Because I'm going to share this, and then we're going to talk about how my listeners could get in touch with you. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I told her that I wasn't getting anything done, and she's like, "Well, why?" I said, "Because I'm procrastinating." And she said, "Well,
Mm,
why are you doing that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm sitting here wanting the phone to ring so I could talk to somebody. I'm waiting
yeah,
for somebody to pass by the window." So that it can distract me for what it is that I have to do. And she was like, interesting. So she called me back and she said, you know what? I was procrastinating today. I'm like, yeah. So I guess I'm trying to figure out how that shame played a part in my procrastination is I was just stalling and distracted and didn't want to focus on what it was that I had to focus on because I don't know why. So
Well,
I would start thinking about it.
it's often more often. I mean, I work with people and take through them very specific when they have specific challenges like that. But very often, it's not failure that people fear, because people often feel like they're already a failure, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what people are afraid of is success. What'll happen if I get too big? What if the phone rings all the time? What if I won't have time for my kids, for the things I want to do? I'll lose my freedom. So it's safer just to stay where I am, and the shame voice says, just stay where you are and just hold back a little bit. That's not safe to do that. And again, that's the shaming voice that says you're not capable of it, or that you can't have it. So it's usually that is the root cause of why we procrastinate. It can always be traced back to shame in one form or another.
Okay. Well, wow, Emma, I'm loving your perspectives. Listen, tell my listeners how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, I am everywhere. You can find me on the medias, on Instagram. I am trauma.matrix. Also have a YouTube channel, Trauma Matrix, and my Substack is also called Trauma Matrix. And I have a free gift for you guys. So if you are listening and you're thinking, wow, this is interesting, I think I have this, maybe you're self-identifying, wow, I've got this crazy voice, shame voice in my head.
Right.
The next step that I would suggest, I have a free guide for you guys. It's called 5 Signs That It's Time to Break Up with Your Inner Narcissist. And it gives you those 5 signs, and also with strategies of how to break free from this narcissist that you've internalized. And this is the key to freedom. It's the key to the kingdom, to reclaiming your authentic version, the true version of you that doesn't shame yourself or put yourself down or hold yourself back. And that is, if you want to check that out, it's at tinyurl.com/not today narc, not today NARC. So check that out if this conversation is resonating for you, or send me a DM. I would love to know what you found inspiring or interesting from this conversation.
Right. And listeners, when you do send her a DM, let her know that you heard her on the Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. And I am so grateful. I'm actually going to do the 5 signs and see where I am. Do I need to break up with my inner narcissist? Okay. So thank you for that. Free is always good. So there's no excuse not to use that. And Emma, I want to thank you. My listeners are grateful for this because you're giving them different perspectives. And I'm certain there are many listeners that never correlated what's going on with them to shame. So I appreciate that modality that you're using, the 5, the break, and all of that to help individuals start using their voice and not the shame voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, just to say one more thing, the shame is not you. It's not you. It feels like it's you, but it's not. It's an implant. It's always about control, and you don't need it to be who you are, to be your best version. That is a complete lie. And it's time for you to reclaim your true, authentic self. And you do that by breaking up with shame once and for all.
Wow, that's well said. Thank you so much, Emma. And my listeners out there, if you believe that this podcast will be a blessing to someone that you know, please share it with them. And also, as I always say, bye for now. God bless you. And I'll see you next week. Again, Emma, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Cassandra.